What's up, everybody? Hope you guys are doing well. Happy Monday. Listen, it is a great time to be alive. God is just doing incredible things. And I wanted to share some things with you today. So, as you can see on the screen, obviously, today is an incredible day of celebration. And why is this not working? Really? It's trying to give me problems. Hold on, guys. Well, then forget it. I just won't do it. All right. So that being said, guys, wanted to just welcome you guys on today's live stream. I've got a present for you. This was a present that was delegated to me to be able to introduce to you guys today. So for those of you guys who know, God shockingly called me to prophetically foresee the future in the markets in August of 2024 was the official launch. However, he had been training me privately when I was involved in Forex earlier that year. And I was part of a small group of people that were involved in Forex trading. We were using bots and had a buddy that was doing some manual trading. And what ended up occurring is that I started seeing the market and price points and percentages and dollar amounts and different things that God was showing me, and it would manifest the next day. It got so intense. It got so intense that the trader in my dream calls me and tells me on one of my accounts that he was trading on, he tells me, listen, I've made this much today, but I feel like the market can go further. He says, but I'm calling to ask you what you think I should do. And then I told him just to go ahead and close it out. And this is how much he ended up making. And I told him about this. I said, man, listen, you've been in this group chat where I've been telling you about my dreams and you've seen what's been going on. I said, so I want to tell you the dream I had last night. And he said, okay, thanks. The next day, he literally calls me and he tells me everything that I had just told him the day before. And I thought he was like, I was like, either he has no idea what he's doing right now, or he's joking with me. And so I just kind of sat there in silence as he had ended what he was sharing. And that's when he realized, he's like, oh my God, your dream. And I'm like, yeah, man, you are serious right now? You really forgot that I had told you that you were going to call me and tell me all these things yesterday and that I had shared my dream with you? He's like, what on earth? I said, man, I'm telling you, these dreams are fire. And that was when God transitioned me into crypto. And I was telling my community at the time that I feel like God's shifting me into crypto. And he did. And I started like, well, where do I start in crypto? I don't know how to trade crypto. I don't know about any bots in crypto. Even the ones I'd heard about, basically, I was told that they're not really that good. And that was when I got a dream that the Lord told me XRP was going to take off in 2024. So I've had this private community, guys. The link's in the description section below. If you want to be a part of the private community, I'm not a financial advisor. I've just simply been sharing my dreams for those who are kind of, hearing what other men and women of God are saying about the end time wealth transfer that we are entering into, what God is doing in this season, and so on and so forth. So for those who follow the Spirit of the Lord at large, in other words, even through the mouths of his prophets, which I fully believe in, and that's why I've been declaring a lot of what many of the prophets that I follow have been saying, including Apostle Giles, who had prophesied that God would be leading people prophetically in this season into prophetic financial investments. That was after I had already gotten my prophetic dream about XRP taken off in 2024. That being said, I've partnered with an incredible guru who is way more technically advanced in the markets and on crypto charts, data analysis than I am. And because of that, I've been sharing a little bit about this here publicly. There are certain things that I do not share publicly, like specific price points that we get prophetically. And so, I've been telling everybody that, right now, based upon what I've seen, would be for many people who are not seeing the price points that God has shown me, because you're not in my private community, for example, this, based upon what I've seen, would still be a good place to get involved in crypto. In addition to that, silver. Now, remember, I am not your investment guru, right? I am simply a person just like yourself, if you're a person of faith, where you may or may not believe in this stuff. And that's specific to the individual. And if you do believe in this stuff, you have to obviously understand the risk involved and so on and so forth of getting involved in these things. But I want to show you something really cool. And that is what leads me to this right here. I'm going to share this with you guys. And of course, this is my amazing coin, XRP, on the charts today. But guys, there's a sale going on that I want to talk to you about on these crypto indicators. Now, I have never enjoyed something so significant in this entire journey. I want you to hear me. These are my just absolute favorite. For example, if God was not showing me anything prophetically, I would be using these indicators like to trade. I am using them to trade, but I'm saying if I had no Holy Spirit, like speaking to me prophetically about the market and showing me specific price points, I would be using these as, kind of my end all be all. That's what I would do. And so, hey, Craig, I see your comment. We answered this yesterday. You said, how do I sign up for I signed up for your private community. How do I access it? Well, the link's in the description section below. And even yesterday, I went through a presentation showing you on my screen how to access it. So I don't know if you need to go back to that video, but I just can't take up the time on this live stream and with all these people, so it's in the description section below the video. Click the description section, find the link that says My Private Community. There you go. All right. All right. That being said, or I'm sorry, I have to keep doing this, guys. Where's my email address? On here. Right here. guru@mydefiguru.com. All right. Just email me. All right. I can't just do this on a live stream. So email me, please. Screenshot this. I'm going to take it off the screen, rewind it, do whatever you got to do. Watch yesterday's video, whatever. But I got to keep going. Okay. That being said, check this out. All right. So, XRP is the coin of the hour. Many people are prophesying about this coin. I'm trying to warn everybody that based upon what I've seen, that it is not going to do in the near future what many prophets have seen coming. I believe it is coming, but I don't believe it's going to go there in the time period that many people believed it would. And in addition to that, we've also seen this already play out. In other words, it's already played out that it's taken longer than many people would have perceived it to take. And so I'm trying to encourage the people that have already seen reality play out, and the fact that God showed me it would crash last year and he showed me selling everything. People called me crazy. Now they can't really say that any longer. Hopefully, maybe some still do, and that's fine if they think that, because I invest based upon my dreams. It is crazy. That being said, let me show you these indicators, okay? So once again, in between movements, right? Like, let's just say, for example, let's just say that God showed me selling right here, and then he showed me buying right here, right? You can see nothing moves in a straight line. So while we are on this journey, this indicator said to buy right here. Well, look at that. And so while I'm placing, I don't know, 80% of my bag on what God showed me, okay, because I'll trust in that more than anything, he's also shown me that there's wisdom involved in the play. And so I could take my 20%, put 5% right here, take a run up, and the indicator here said to sell right here. Looky there. I mean, come on. Remember, nothing moves in a straight line. But if I was going by this indicator, look at the profits I would have made if I would have bought when it told me to and sold when it told me to. Roughly 30% profits. Okay? So basically, I'm having some fun while I'm waiting on the word of God to come to pass. And I'm using a sophisticated tool, which, by the way, has a $125 coupon if you're in my private community. But right here, today, for you guys that are out in public and not in my private community, you still get $100 off of each indicator. It's the 4th of July sale that they've got going on right now, guys. I've had a lot of people buy these indicators. A lot. They see the value in them. You saw what I just showed you on the screen. This is not for everybody. Some people may not even know how to read the charts, even on a basic level. And for that, there's a link in the description section to learn how to read the charts. But if you paid attention to what I just showed you, a green dot that says buy and a red dot that says sell, which, by the way, you can set alerts so that your phone starts going tick, 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 to notify you when the signal is printing. I also shared with you guys the other day. In fact, I'll take you there on my little journey. Let's go. Let's go for a wild ride here. Okay. I'm going to get rid of my little drawings here, even though they're so beautiful. I'm going to go down here to silver. And I've told you guys this. They've only printed on the highest accuracy setting for the signal frequency. It's only printed 3 signals to buy silver on the highest accuracy setting in almost 3 years. And it just printed one on Tuesday. It just printed one on Tuesday. It was basically saying we are in the range right now where it is a time to buy. That's why you can see according to this other indicator here, that it's a color chart. It converts these candles that we normally see into colors. and I'll go ahead and take away the colors, and then I'll remove the candles again, and then show you how it converts it to colors. And this is basically telling you that when the market is in fear and when the market's in fear and when it's in greed, and what level of greed and what level of fear. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 levels of greed, and it has 2 levels of fear. And so so my point is, if you would have gone by these indicators, for example, back in April of 2025, you could have potentially bought here, and you could have sold at any one of these levels in here, any of them. Obviously, you know, nobody could have predicted that silver was going to run the way that it was. So it showed many, many sell opportunities. However, if you were to expand this and really do the mathematical and look at where it bottomed out here, and that's where the indicator said buy. And so let's just go to the next spot where it said to sell. That was a 17% profit minimum. Okay. If you would have, you know, sold a little bit and then wanted to hold some or whatever, you know, the indicator itself is just simply telling you, and that's why if you saw this, it actually went into max euphoria. It went into max euphoria right here. So it's like there's mild greed, high greed, what's that? Extreme greed, and then max euphoria. So yeah, precious metals has been obviously taking off. But the point is, according to this, it's actually confirming what God showed me in a dream. Listen to this. God showed me in a dream in January that silver would go down to the $60 range. And then he showed me where it was going to go up to. And this indicator is printing a signal to buy at the exact price range that God showed me back in January would be the bottom. Now, let me tell you a little something. Okay. To me, that is super, super exciting because it shows. Now, here's the deal. Do I believe that indicators are as accurate as the Holy Spirit? No way. No way. And never would I ever try to compare that technical analysis would be equivalent to God. But God has shown me wisdom along this journey. And I showed it to you on the charts a moment ago where I shared with you that even when God says to sell here and buy here, and of course my camera's backwards so that it's going to look like I'm putting this backwards on the chart. Even if God told me to sell here and then buy down here, nothing moves in a straight line. And so the point of that is that there are ebbs and flows along the way where you can capitalize on some trades potentially, you know, presumably, obviously, if things go in your favor, because that's the risk reward of trading. So these indicators, they've got like 85 roughly percent success rate when it prints these signals. So when you're in trading, that's obviously a good number to be running with. And that's why you always take into consideration that it can go against you as well. And that's why you don't put all your eggs in one basket. But what's cool about these indicators, guys, is it works on, as you saw, precious metals, crypto, stocks, hey, Forex. Listen, these indicators work on just about everything. And the sophistication that is programmed into the coding is super, super intelligent. The guru who created it, Travis, is the one offering the sale right now. I am not. They're not my indicators. I'm just sharing them with you because I like them so much. Once again, there's a 4th of July sale going on, $100 off each indicator. If you're in my private community, there's actually a little richer discount for you guys. And I've already shared that with my community. I told them I was coming live. I told them that I was going to give you guys the juice and you guys were going to get the goods, but that they had just a little nicer discount code. But $100 off is pretty good. So if you got 3 indicators that this coupon code can apply to, that's $300 off. That's a discount. And it's only for the 4th of July to commemorate the 250-year anniversary of the United States of America. And so it is definitely a time of celebration. It's a good time to be alive. God is moving in the earth. And he's not just moving through the prophetic. God also moves through wisdom. And that's why inside my private community, I have been stewarding this journey with my people, sharing different insights of strategies that I believe the Lord has showed me in order to mitigate risk, even while we're stewarding the prophetic journey, knowing that I'm not a financial advisor, knowing that I'm just a person with an opinion and a dream, right? Obviously recommending to everyone that they seek whatever professional advice they believe they need in order to make certain investments, but also to know the risk. So these indicators, I'm going to go over them with you real quick. For those of you guys who are interested, don't forget the discount code and the links are in the description section of this video. But watch this. Remember when I told you that they're very sophisticated, right? And they're not simple, basic like you would think. For example, when it printed this, this buy signal down here, the price actually has come down a little bit. Well, that's normal. We've actually saw that in previous moves. If you go into historical past, where it did also come down and then went up even further, just like the indicator was predicting, because it's obviously predicting once again, and predictions can be wrong. That's what I was distinguishing the other day on my live when a person said, you know, yes, you accurately predicted the markets, you know, in your prophetic dream last year. And I said, no, there's a difference between predicting and prophesying. Predicting is what this indicator is doing based upon technical analysis, gathers data, gathers information, and then gives us the best case scenario according to what it's seeing in the data. Prophecy, to me, is different than that. And so just wanted to distinguish that. That's why I say I give more faith to God than any indicator. However, this thing is golden. Remember, this is backwards, so it's like I don't even know which way I'm going. But this thing is golden on the journey. And so once again, if we go back to XRP, and you know, and God basically, you know, said to sell here and then buy here, right? Then nothing moves in a straight line. And so I could have bought here when it told me to, and then sold here when it told me to. Okay. And then that would have been that percentage of gains while I was waiting on these other moves to fulfill with the majority of my bag. Okay. That's an example. However, what I like to show people, and this is what I really like to show people, is that if you look at, in fact, let's go to the silver because it's actually a better example. If you look at where it printed the buying signal right here on June 23rd, the price was right here, right there. Okay. And you can see the prices actually come lower than that. We've just talked about that because that's what we saw in the past, that it'll do that sometimes and then it'll come up and then that's when you take your profit. Okay, but watch this. If this indicator was functioning on just price action alone, you would suggest that it would have printed another green signal here. But it didn't. And it's because it's using data that's going obviously far beyond just basic formulas. It's using very sophisticated data. But watch this. Here's a beautiful sell position that this printed that day. So if you would have sold here and bought here, obviously, you know, given that it's expected to go up. Now, I believe it 100% is, because remember, I already told you that God spoke to me that we would be at the $60 price range back in January. And my private community knows this. So to buy anywhere in this range, obviously, based upon what God showed me, is going to be nice. But also the fact that this indicator with its printed signal to buy, it's not confirming the word of the Lord. It's just, I guess it sort of is. What will confirm the word of the Lord is when the price goes up, you know, because everything's presumption right now until it's fulfilled. For me, it's prophecy based upon what God said. And then, of course, probability if you're looking at this indicator, right? So, however, I wanted to share this with you because it's super exciting, because I know what God has shown me, and I know that silver is going to go up, and we have the ability to capitalize on that. And by the way, guys, if you want to buy physical silver, I just happen to prefer sometimes when you're diversifying to get some physical silver. In fact, it's really cool. I don't know where they're at today, but the other day I had a young lady who asked me to help them buy some silver and to help them set some limit orders for XRP. So I did that. And when we went online, they were able to purchase 40 1-ounce silver coins below spot price. Now, the benefit of coins, if you didn't know, and I'm not your legal counsel either, so you can obviously research everything that I say, but apparently what they say is that coins cannot be confiscated by the government in the middle of a Great Depression. So if you're holding them for a rainy day, as one of the commenters mentioned on one of my previous videos, who was a prepper, because that was his username. If you're stocking them up for a rainy day, and prophets are also talking about economic collapse coming in the future for sure. And so during that time, the availability to have something that actually holds its value, unlike the dollar that's supposed to crash, you know, would be obviously ideal to get involved in, you know, holding precious metals, because obviously that can feed your family one day, presumably. But if the government was to come in and say, we need to fund the war, right? Or we need to fund, you know, the government or whatever, we need your gold and silver, they could legally do that. I don't know if you guys knew that, unless it's in coins, is what I've heard. And so you can actually buy these coins on their website, at least you could the other day, below spot price. And just go to the deals tab, and it's the silver and gold link in the description section below. But back to these indicators, guys. All right. Back to these indicators. They're really sophisticated. In fact, let me just share this with you guys. Let me share this with you. Here is somewhere. Here's actually a testimony that just happened organically this morning inside my private community. I went live 2 hours ago. To tell my community that that they are having the sale on these indicators. And Dan commented, he says, I bought them last year. I love them. A great investment. Okay. I said, thanks for sharing your testimony. He said, yes, sir. I think they'll be great to have when the market gets even more volatile. Okay. All right. Like, I mean, I had another guy in my private community. In fact, let me see if I can find his comment. He literally said, he literally said, and I'm not going to show you the comment because it gives away too much information that I'm sharing inside my private community. But he says, I've downloaded the indicators and I'm very impressed with how accurate they can be. I said, I know, right? Thanks for sharing your experience. Gentleman just testified. He says, I bought these indicators last year. And he says, and I am so impressed. They are an incredible investment. He says, I think they'll even be more beneficial even when the market is even more volatile. Then you have another gentleman who said, I just downloaded the indicators and I was going back over the historical data and just am very, very impressed with how accurate they are. Now, here's a very important thing to know. There is such a thing that indicators, and I just learned this today, that some indicators can actually repaint. Now, what that means is it can actually manipulate the historical data. And I just wanted to verify because I was asked this question by somebody who wanted to buy them and just said, hey, I want to make sure they don't repaint. And I'm like, what's that? And I asked the creator and he says, no. He says, we actually have a code built into the indicator to force them to never be able to repaint. And I said, okay, wonderful. He says, the only thing that could be subject to change is if TradingView, the portal, obviously, I don't know if he said glitched or, if they, it's a requote from TradingView's price feed, and they've actually proven that before. They have built in a non-repaint code into each indicator. So hope that makes sense. Obviously, for people who are, aware of that sort of thing, and they just want to make sure that they're getting a integral product, there you have it, guys. And if you know Travis, guys, he's an integral guy. So there's a lot of people that follow him for that reason. Great guy. And so just wanted to share this with you today, guys. 4th of July, blowout sale, $100 off each indicator. I'll go ahead and tell you, if you are a member of my private community, it's actually $125 off. And so if you wanted, to do both, you could basically get inside my private community and get the larger discount. Save yourself a few bucks that way. That being said, guys, for all of you guys out here in the public square that are not inside my private community, you still get $100 off each indicator, which is a discount. Before it was $50 for those in the public square. And so you're getting double what many people have already paid for these indicators. That's it. If any questions, guys, let me know. Otherwise, the best thing I could do. Oh, you know what? I need to show these indicators just for those who are looking for. All right. So the one indicator that I haven't shown you is volume bubbles. These are way more prominent on crypto. So if we look in XRP, for example, volume bubbles show when there's big whale alerts and whale buys, whale sells. And, this can be very helpful when you get an alert on your phone and it says like, the whales are dumping XRP right now. It can obviously help you to start paying attention. So the volume bubbles are huge. It actually shows you movement or volume that is not available on, many dollar volume indicators. Okay. Then you have the market cycle highs and lows, which is this fear and greed. And this is really interesting because it's specific to each coin. All right. For example, if you go to silver, because it's in such a, really strong bullish season for precious metals, silver is only in the mild caution category. And it's still telling you to buy. And the reason is because it's just where it's at in the market. Okay. And that's why if you were using just this one indicator called the market cycles highs and lows, which shows you the emotional, position of the market or of the, particular investment, whether it be silver, crypto, whatever. Even though this is saying, you wouldn't buy because of fear, it's actually telling you would buy, however, because of the data built into this indicator. That's why many traders look for multiple indicators to determine their best times of entry. However, guys, this Pro Trade Manager by itself, I'm just going to be honest with you, because of the data that it has built into it, it's exactly what the name is, Pro Trade Manager. It's basically helping you to be a professional trader. Okay. Please understand, nothing is guaranteed. And I need to tell you that because it's an 85% success rate roughly. And so nothing is going to be 100%. It's up to you to structure your investments accordingly. Okay. However, my two favorite, as I've been talking about too, a lot of, on my lives, are the market cycle highs and lows that shows you with this graph or chart where the coin or the precious metal or the stock or the whatever currency pairs in Forex, where they're at in the market sentiment based upon the emotion. And this saying where they say buy the fear. So if you see something in fear, that can be a potential great place to get in. Okay. But it's not just that. And that's why we printed a green dot on the Pro Trade Manager for silver, even though it's not in fear. And based upon what the Lord showed me, that's actually accurate. Now, we'll only be able to see that in the future if the price goes up. But these two indicators right here are my favorites. Pro Trade Manager, and this is set on the highest accuracy for, you can actually say, no, I'm willing to take more risk and get into more trades, even though it might be moderate accuracy rather than highest accuracy. You can change that just by going to the settings right here and clicking this to good accuracy, where you get more opportunities. Most moderate accuracy, where you get the most opportunities. Okay. And so he told me they work best on the day chart and on the 4-hour chart. You don't want to go below 4 hours, is what the professional trader told me. All right. And they come with videos on how to install them, how to use them, how to read them. Okay. Then the third indicator that comes with the discount is the volume bubbles. Remember, the volume bubble shows the whale movement in the background, an incredible indicator. Then there's another indicator called the EMA distance analyzer. This is not going to come with a coupon code because it's just the price point is so inexpensive already. And so the EMA distance analyzer is a very good tool because it shows you how far away from the moving average the price point is. And this is very, very good because obviously when it's high above the moving average, you see where it printed the sell here. Obviously, that's pretty self-explanatory. So I like the EMA moving average, the EMA distance analyzer, because this is pretty elementary. Whereas you could see how low it has come on this length of these bars and how high it came here. And then you can see that was the top. See what I mean? Well, what would you presume this would be? The bottom. Okay. And that's what I'm trying to tell you. Now, when you get into how to read the charts, you actually learn that you can put these lines, horizontal line, on where you're at on these lines to see how it compares with other movements. Now you're going to have more volatility. Like these are off the charts because remember, this was when it was in like max euphoria or at least extreme greed before it reached the top. And that's what it was trying to warn you with these color indicators by saying, yo, be careful because we're getting kind of crazy here. Well, look at how accurate it was, right? Big drop. It tried to tell you. Okay. And so all of these things will speak to you in its language to communicate to you. Like I'm telling you guys, look at what these things are doing. And, but that's why these things were so high. And you got to be careful because when you're reading this data, don't try to compare the next highs like this one. If we were to take that line that I was just showing you and put a horizontal line where it dropped right here because it signified it was the top, it's way below where the highs were here. And the reason is, once again, like I explained to you, that we were in a super bullish run on silver right here. And so you wouldn't want to probably use that data to compare. But however, you might want to compare with some other ranges. Okay. I'd probably give you better examples on other coins. Look at how, look at how high these green bars are, just astronomically high, ridiculously high. And so this is a better example here. Do you see where that line is? Get rid of all this where it was max euphoria right here. This was the top. And as you can see, it came down. You see, they ended up in the purple here, going down. So that's the point that I'm trying to make. The EMA distance analyzer is also a really good indicator. This one is not going to come with a coupon code because it's pretty inexpensive compared to the rest. But I do want to share that with you because this is how that one can be utilized. And that one's also available without the coupon code though. All right. That being said, guys, I'm going to jump off here, but all of these indicators are super, super cool. And the one with the straightforward red dot and green. Yeah. The Pro Trade Manager. That's right. The Pro Trade Manager. And I like the way you put that. Dreamstorm said, what is the name of the indicator with the one with the straightforward red dot, green dots at the bottom for buying and selling? Pro Trade Manager, yes. And so I love the way you put that because honestly, when you learn these indicators, they're all very straightforward. But for the person who's just wanting, the simplest simplicity, that's probably the absolute leading indicator. But also remember, let me bring this up for you. Also remember that not everything is based upon emotion. I'm sorry, forgive me. That not every buying opportunity is based upon what's built into the Pro Trade Manager, but it's also can be built on emotion. That's why they say in the markets, buy the fear, sell the greed. That's why if you look at the fear greed index, guys, it's why it's so important. You want to buy the fear is what they say and sell the greed. And so, so this market cycle highs and lows. The only reason I'm mentioning this, you don't need the other to make this one work. The Pro Trade Manager will work just fine on its own. But all I'm saying is that if you understand that all markets are based upon emotion, that's the reality. You ever heard the term FOMO, fear of missing out? FOMO is a real thing. And so many people have a fear of missing out because they FOMO into the market. And that's where the greed comes in. And that's oftentimes what drives the market into a disproportionate posture, just like we can see right here when silver went crazy. It was wonderful, especially if you were like me and you got a chance to sell up near the top. That was amazing. Always take profits. That's what I've always learned. And this will allow you to be able to take some profits. So, as you can see, boom, it has really dialed back. If you go back to where it was on the charts, all this was taken away. All of it. Watch. Oh, what is this? Get out of my way. All of that was taken away. And so it's super important to understand that emotion, which is what this was telling you on the charts here by these three colors: high greed, extreme greed, and max euphoria. And so right here, and this is what's so neat about this. You can learn a lot by just watching the emotion. I'll just leave it at that. All right. But buying the fear, guys, listen, people don't realize this. They chase, do you accept PayPal on School for Your Private Community? Honestly, I don't know what they accept. You'd have to just go and click. And then when it says payment options, find out from there. I really don't know. It's a good question that I could probably look into, but I don't have the answer right now. Oh yeah, what I was going to say was the wealthy understand to buy the bottom, guys. Everybody wants to chase the pumps, and that's where they end up losing because they get in at the top. If you can use these indicators to time the bottom, somebody tell me in the background, let me speak to the people in the back. Is that smart or is that smart? That is what makes people wealthy, or that's what makes wealthy people, is the mindset to understand to do the opposite of what the majority of people are doing for the most part, because the majority of people are not wealthy. I was watching a video, listen to this, on Fox News, where Warren Buffett was being interviewed. And they asked him, they said the stock market has come down. I don't know what she said, whatever percentage it was, somewhere between 6 and 15%. I can't remember where it was at the time. She's like, the market's come down, this percent. She's like, good time to buy, right? And he's like, no. He said, no. He says, we're not in this for, I don't know what it was, 15%. He's like, we're not in this for 15%. He says, three times since I have been with Berkshire Hathaway. He says 3 times we've seen a 50% retracement. He's like, you remember the Black Monday? And, that's where wealthy people look to buy, is at the significant pullbacks, guys. Some of these significant pullbacks you don't see on a Black Monday where you have to rush in and buy everything. That's obviously an opportunity. But some of these pullbacks can be determined by these charts and indicators, especially when you don't need to know all of the data that it knows to be able to do the work for you. Some people have to manually figure out. They don't use, these indicators. And that's what it's so sophisticated, man. I'm so excited. All right. That's it. I'm going to jump off. But that's what I wanted to share with you. Most importantly is that if you can time the bottom and the top, super, super exciting. All 3 of the bottoms where it presented an opportunity to buy in the silver market, because it's only printed 3 of those in almost 3 years, have been in very, very good positions. And it just printed one the other day. And that's consistent with what God showed me back in January of this year. That we would be at these price points in silver, and this would be the entry position, because he showed me where it's going from here. Not to say it can't go down, because the scripture says we see in part, we prophesy in part, all that stuff, right? So I'll never say that I don't, that I see everything. However, he hasn't failed me yet. And I don't anticipate he will either. God bless you guys. Happy Monday. 4th of July is upon us. Happy 250, America. And go ahead and grab your 4th of July sale on these indicators if you so choose. Obviously, you can see that I am using them, and I'm super, super excited about what they reveal on the charts of how accurate they've been. And just a gold mine, man, for someone who uses wisdom while utilizing them. And, don't get crazy and just be like, oh, it printed a green dot. I'm going to throw everything on that green dot. I'm going to sell my house, my kids, because it's a green dot. You know what I mean? No, you got to know how to use them. You got to know how to use strategies, diversification, risk mitigation, all these different things. And that's what I talk about in my private community as well, even though I'm not a financial advisor. But it's just wisdom, keys, and tools. God bless you guys. Thanks for being with me today. And let me know if you join my private community, purchase an indicator, or have any problems accessing the private community after you've joined, like we had earlier. Okay, blessings, guys. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.